hold that thought. Just remember, Keane is not bald. Welcome to the weekly Steelchair podcast. This is part 2 of the Undertaker tribute series, paying homage to the greatest character, the greatest gimmick. Fuck it, who cares? The greatest professional wrestler that ever lived. Kill me, I don't care. I said it, end of. Obviously, tonight is my show. I'm hosting it. Keane back again, of course. He claims to be head of the table, but this time he's being thank you Taker. He'll probably be beaten by Lesnar on Sunday. We'll see. But at the moment, of course, he is the head of the channel. He is the owner of the weekly armchair, which I'm telling you, please like, share, and subscribe, and obviously give this man some respect for all the hard work he's done. How are you?
Good. It's good to be back again after kind of a 2-week break. I suppose I'm kind of like a part-timer on this channel almost these days. I'm kind of just floating around the place, showing up when I want to, kind of type of thing. But I'm kind of the Brock Lesnar at this channel / kind of head of the table, so I'm the full Wrestlemania main event at the moment.
Well, what can I say? It's either going to be an F5 or a spear, or in your case, done. And of course, before we proceed into tonight's main event, literally it is the main event, say hello to a guest. Hello, Rich. Hope you're doing well. So last week, if you missed last week's show, which is an absolute horror if you did, last week it was part 1. It was myself and Ailey, which we covered classic Undertaker, which we unanimously agreed is the best version. Like, best gimmick-wise, it was by far the best look. But in terms of, like, overall, this is where Taker really shone. This is Taker finally getting to be who he wanted to be. We did the American Badass up to Buried Alive 2003, so naturally, Keane gets the best bit of the lot. Keane gets WrestleMania. And obviously, it didn't start WrestleMania. It started at the Royal Rumble. That famous Royal Rumble gong, like in the 2004 Royal Rumble, which, to be fair, if you watch the Rumble, just forget who won it, because frankly, in terms of history, the winner doesn't get mentioned enough. But that famous gong moment was absolutely brilliant. Keane, what was your overall thoughts on that before we even divulge into WrestleMania 20?
Yeah, man, I remember watching that as a kid, Royal Rumble 2004, and like I thought Undertaker was genuinely dead, like dead. This is before I knew kind of wrestling wasn't real and wasn't scripted, blah blah blah. I remember watching that gong. I was like, "What the fuck? Who's this?" Then I realized it's the Undertaker. They said in the commentary, it's the Undertaker, and I was like, "Jesus Christ, no way he's coming back from the dead!" Like, you know. But like, to see kind of how dominant Kane was in the Royal Rumble match, and then Taker distracting Booker T, eliminating Kane, and then just all that build up to WrestleMania 20, like Undertaker getting into Kane's head psychologically. And it was great to see, and like the I suppose the emergence of that, the rebirth of the Undertaker was brilliant. And if you look at kind of how that return came about, like Kane, you know, was kind of twisted. He was trying to attack Trish Stratus. You know, he was kind of mini feuding with Goldberg at the time as well.
Alleged getting Shane McMahon in the balls.
Yeah, in the midst of all that, electrocuting Shane McMahon, you know, ultimately won the world title with a very good performance, Armageddon as well. Like, you know, that Undertaker's return building up to that, they made Kane look really strong in order for Undertaker to come back, for him to even do that times 2. So WWE really kind of hit the nail on the head with kind of the build to his return. Because I think we see nowadays in terms of WWE messing up returns, but the way they done it with Taker, like how they gave us hints that he's going to come back to as a Deadman gimmick. We seen kind of how, you know, he was returned to that dark side. Now, fans probably at that time were probably thinking, was it going to be Ministry of Darkness Taker? You know, was it going to be the Deadman, or it could have been just these vignettes. That was Undertaker just popping a bottle there, by the way. Though these vignettes were happening. Do you remember, like, the year before when he returned at Royal Rumble 2003? They aired all like I remember having the Royal Rumble 2003 DVD.
The classic vignettes for Undertaker.
In the extras, that DVD, right, they had all the different types of gimmicks in his return videos in the build up to his turn. Whereas in this one, they just had the Deadman. So you kind of thought it was either going to be Ministry of Darkness or the Deadman, and ultimately was the Deadman, Joe, coming back. And when the lights went out of Mania, and then Paul Bearer saying, "Oh yes," it was just epic.
Would you? Here's a question for you, because obviously I think that WrestleMania 20 entrance is absolutely superb, one of the best. I would probably put it in in terms of just WrestleMania entrances, not overall Taker ones, but just WrestleMania ones. I would put it in the top 2. I think the best one, I would still say the best one is WrestleMania 14, but that WrestleMania 20 entrance was absolutely superb. What would you actually choose to be his best WrestleMania entrance?
Now you're talking actually.
The only one I don't like is WrestleMania 31, because that was him coming back, but it wasn't even in the dark. It was an outside stadium. Yeah, it felt shit. So I'm just going to disregard that one. It's just bad.
Yeah. That is a good one. Do you know what though? As well, was it WrestleMania 18 and WrestleMania 17 where they highlighted him coming up on the bike driving into the arena? That one was epic as well.
18 versus Ric Flair.
18 against Ric Flair, yes. That was a good one. His one against CM Punk was good as well. That was a good entrance as well. 29. Do you know what? I know that moment was epic, Joe, in terms of coming back. What about WrestleMania 28 though, when he comes back, goes into Hell in a Cell, slams the door, and to end the entrance, pulls it off, and he's actually shaved his head.
That was actually very, very tormenting to watch, as capturing the moment. It had torment, it had mystique. I would certainly include that. There is one entrance though that I do think does get a lot of, I think it's underrated because it isn't a classic Taker entrance, and it's, of course, we'll be talking about great feuds and 5-star matches. The first 5-star match of this entire era, in my opinion, is WrestleMania 21. That entrance, Lee coming out, he was actually given the opportunity to Randy Orton to come out second, but that entrance where he comes out first on a classic podium.
Oh man, that was freaky as fuck.
Taz's commentary. He's not even walking, Cole.
I remember that entrance at the time WrestleMania 21. Again, I had that WrestleMania on VHS, not even DVD. It was recorded through the video.
Choice. VHS.
Yes. I had it recorded through VHS years ago because I wasn't allowed to stay up for school, because school the next morning to watch it. So it was recorded on the VHS. But
yeah,
I remember that entrance. He wasn't even walking. And I was just it was creepy as fuck. Do you notice they used that as well? Not that same thing at 21, but they used it, that kind of effect when he returned at the Royal Rumble 2006, which I know we're probably going to talk about later on in his career. But he's had some unique entrances, and his entrance is the most iconic entrance in WWE. Now, people can say the Glass Shattering with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's obviously synonymous with WWE. But if you're talking about the best entrance, even though people might call it a slog in terms of how long it is, but there's a reason why it's an epic entrance. I think Undertaker's entrance alone is the best entrance in WWE. I don't care. Even though The Rock's entrance music as well, that's brilliant as well. There's Shawn Michaels too, obviously going from the fucking, I don't know what the name of it is. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's the best entrance in WWE by some margin.
I'm going to go on a limb, and obviously, you know me, I'm in terms of greats, obviously I always say Rock's my favourite. Stone Cold, I absolutely adore him in terms of entrances. But I'm going to go on a limb. Neither of those two are in the top 2 entrances for me. None of them. I think the top 2 entrances of all time have to be Taker and Kane. Because they had, in a way, the exact same. The only difference is Kane changed his up when he had proper room lighting, rather than they took the dark light into the red. They got rid of that, which is fine, because even in the slight orange lighting in the mid-2000s, and then went to black smoke in 2012. That somber feeling was great, but Taker's entrance over the years just evolved that much that you just couldn't keep up. And I think the way that he returned at WrestleMania 20 was perfect, because it was slow, and all you hear is Jerry Lawler going, "My God!" Literally.
And then you had the Druids as well. You had the Druids, and you had Paul Bearer. It was just epic. It was one of them moments you just knew it was going to be remembered for time when it happened.
You ain't no son of mine. Just that one line from Paul Bearer is just pure brilliant. You ain't no son of mine. Pure genius. Commenting from Rich, also I know Rich is fairly busy tonight. He's saying he's keeping on, but he won't be in the comments. That's perfectly fine. Getting as much as you can, of course. We do appreciate it. There is 5 people watching, so if you want to get involved, any questions for me or Keane that you want us to answer, obviously Keane has been told he does have the quiz after this, like after we deep dive the greatest career part 2. So we are going to move on, and I obviously want to ask you purely because we have to deep dive. I don't think the match was as good as the first encounter at WrestleMania 14, but the WrestleMania 20 match still had drama. It still had that effect where it was the classic Undertaker entrance. He's returned to Madison Square Garden where he owned it in the 90s. And you see Kane's face where brilliant performing by Glenn Jacobs, obviously Kane, where he is going like fear, like thinking he's purely dead. That's great. And then you just see it kick off explosive. It's not even a slow taker anymore.
Here's the thing with this match. It didn't need to be a great match. It was perfect for what it was because of the return. It kind of needed Undertaker to be dominant. Because anything other than that, it kind of would have, took away from the return, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's the way the match played out with the way the kind of ring psychology, the offense Kane got in, the offense Undertaker got in, and it was a quick match. I think that was perfect.
Especially with the fact that it had classic Kane and it had classic Taker like offense, like the flying clothesline, like the running flying clothesline, 2 choke slams, the last ride countered onto the top rope, Taker sitting up in a classic way, the cutthroat without even rolling his eyes back. It was a cold cut stare. Like it was totally different, total mystique. And I agree with you, but I think the one thing it had missed on is I think it missed the trick. I think this could have. I know it's great to have one match between the two, but I think you could have had a follow up. I know it's not necessarily easy because obviously Taker was contracted to SmackDown, Kane was contracted to Raw at the times. Obviously,
draft 2 weeks later though.
Yeah, and I think they missed the trick. But obviously, they did keep Kane on Raw for another couple of years, and obviously then he came to SmackDown. But he didn't even wrestle Taker until 2010. Well, actually, no, 2008. Sorry, but they didn't have a proper feud until 2010. So you missed. I think they missed a bit of a trick there. But I just like the way they built up Taker's return in that manner, because obviously it then leads to like the feud with Paul Heyman, and of all people, the Dudley Boys. Like, what was your take on that? Because obviously the Great American Bash has perhaps the creepiest moment, in my opinion, as a wrestling fan. The watching a man be buried in concrete, kayfabe buried in concrete. But obviously at the time, I was 7 years old watching that. Like, how did you feel watching that at the time? Because I'll tell you, I was shitting myself. Not literally, but mentally.
I thought it was just fucked up. I was watching it. I was like, what's going on here? Why is he like all of a sudden, right? Look, to be fair, Paul Heyman and Undertaker have always had history, right? So that feud itself made sense. Paul Heyman drafting in people from his ECW connections and the Dudley Boys made sense. But then, like, what didn't make sense is the whole feud was about him saving Paul Bearer. The concrete crypt match was all about him saving Paul Bearer. He then wins the match, has the ability to save Paul Bearer, but then buries Paul Bearer. It was kind of like, we just spent 5 weeks
building this.
Watching this feud. We spent 5 weeks wanting you to save Paul Bearer. You don't save him in the end. And it was kind of just like, what's going on? Like, even that feud as well, Taker was drifting between kind of face and heel as well in that feud. Because remember, he attacked RP, attacked Eddie Guerrero, attacked John Cena. It was a weird feud. It was weird. Like, just the things that happened in the middle of it were just weird.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially in that respect. But what it does lead on to, though, is, to be fair, we did kind of step over the Booker T feud, but in a way we actually shouldn't have to talk about that feud anyway, because I think it was pointless. I don't think it actually done him any favors, but I do think there is that aspect of the feud, and it leads to obviously his feud with GBL. What was your overall feud like? Because I have to admit, I thought that was probably one of the best feuds for a guy who should never have been world champion, and a man that rightfully should have been world champion. But obviously GBL was actually a decent heel at the time. What was your overall thought on the feud, especially because of the fact that he sacrificed Obviously, they did the SummerSlam match where they got chokeslam through the limo, which is one of my favorite SummerSlam moments. He sacrificed Orlando Jordan on the symbol, which was brilliant. And obviously, he'd done these classic like Steelchair, like guillotine on Viscera, and obviously he tore apart Gangrel to get to No Mercy, which may be involved in a quiz question. You never know. But what was your overall thoughts on that feud, especially with the involvement of the Ministry?
Yeah, it was a good feud. Like, even though, like, to be fair, I think Taker probably should have won the feud. Now, look, JBL kind of did hold his place to help elevate Cena in the end, which actually worked out, to be fair. So maybe I'm being selfish being a Taker fan there. But it was a good feud how he brought back the Ministry, obviously, because JBL did how also, like, in his previous persona as Bradshaw, did have his links with the Ministry in Darkness and the Brood. So it made sense for kind of him to bring them back. And now, albeit, instead of Heidenreich costing him the match, I do think maybe the Ministry costing him would have made more sense. It would have made more sense, or even like if you wanted to do another mini feud with Kane, maybe Kane costing him the title again. That you maybe could have done something there, but it was good. It was a good feud, and to think about as well, like JBL always had that fear of Undertaker. Even as champion, he always kind of, during his title reign, he always kind of had that fear of Taker, but also he always kind of had that link. Because if you look at, like, yes, he faced him at SummerSlam, yes, he faced him at No Mercy, but then also Armageddon in the Fatal 4-Way as well. Yeah. So he always, like, Taker almost helped him become a top heel by chicken shitting his way from Taker for months on end. And I just want to say as well, just before we go on to the next topic, Bruno Fernandes has just scored for Portugal with a Cristiano Ronaldo assist. Now, I know we're not talking about United, but inject that shit into my veins. Anyway, carry on.
Impressive. Very impressive. I actually agree. I think in terms of like interference, I would have had the Ministry personally over Heidenreich. I don't know what the hell they were doing putting Heidenreich in that role. I thought he was absolutely useless. I thought the Taker feud with him, especially at the very end, like the casket match, like as well, like it was good to watch, but only because Snitsky and Kane interfered. It was pointless. But I loved the work of GBL as a heel, especially when he was WWE champion. My only problem is he was champion for too long. But then again, they had no other option because Triple H did not want to go to SmackDown.
And Eddie Guerrero didn't want the pressure of being WWE champion. If you remember, he wanted to drop the title.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, you had no choice really at the time to maybe give it to JBL. And to be fair, right, look.
And you couldn't give it to Kurt Angle either, because Kurt Angle at the time was also very
riddled with injury. And Big Show was also taking a hiatus. So if you actually look at it, who really could you give him the title to? Booker T? Not really after the year he had post Triple H. You couldn't really hand him the WWE title because that would have kind of demoted it.
Respectfully, yeah.
Yeah,
you couldn't give it to Cena because he wasn't ready.
You couldn't give it to Cena because he wasn't ready either. You look at, if you look at building the future, if you look at the way that was done, you can see the natural path. Build JBL up as a bastard heel for a year, and then effectively, though you build Cena up to be this great face, and then like long-term booking, it was actually good in a way. Even though when he got the title, like initially you probably wouldn't have thought this would have happened, but if you look at it from a long-term perspective, it actually worked out perfectly. Yeah,
I thought like GBL actually brought. I know some people don't think he did, but I actually think GBL actually brought the WWE title some relevance. Like, because I can't remember, like in terms of like title reigns at the time, like I think the last. Because obviously Eddie Guerrero had a very decent title reign from No Way Out up until the Great American Bash. Brock Lesnar's third title reign was a bit of a hit and a miss. I'm trying to think, but I think in terms of GBL's title reign, I think GBL was probably the best champion since Steve Austin's last reign. Like his last reign, like that date back 2001. Like that says all for me just how difficult it was as a champion. You just couldn't get anything because Triple H as undisputed champion was boring. Chris Jericho was okay. The Rock was only going to be champion for a month, and Taker
was a transitional thing to Bill Lesnar.
Yeah, and obviously, like Taker's reign was literally just build Jeff Hardy to eventually getting released for being a drug addict. That's what happened. Like it just sums up like just how that's nothing against Taker. It's just unfortunately Taker's reign purely was mostly feuding with the Hardys when he should never have been in the first place.
Yeah,
But I do like it when he's a chase.
Like you look at all them other champions as well, and kind of that kind of time span since like it disbanded from the undisputed title. You had Brock and Kurt kind of handed over and back to each other for a couple of months, so kind of they're playing hot potato with the title.
Big
Then
Show.
obviously went to Eddie, and then like JBL was like the longest WWE champion.
280 days.
Yeah, in that kind of couple of year stretch. So yes, when he got the title, people thought he was undeserving. But if you look at it in hindsight,
There's no
what
better.
done long term to book John Cena, it actually turned out well.
Mm-hmm. And obviously that is the making of that. Obviously that is the making of Cena. But the one good thing from like Taker's many brief heel like facade, literally because it was just a fake heel Taker, was his match when Cena on SmackDown that SmackDown main event was absolutely brilliant, and it propelled Taker to a sense where he can work with anybody still. And Cena was actually able to prove doubters wrong that he could have a seriously good match with a guy even bigger than his size that he would never have a good opportunity with. It was his best match with him by far. That's what I liked about it. But I think we're just going to I think you can unanimously agree. We're just going to skip Heidenreich.
Yeah,
because I would rather watch something crap like Titanic than talk about
that today.
Yeah.
You know what though? I just want to point out something quickly about that feud, right? There's something just quickly I'd like to point out. But yes, it ended up being pointless, right? But what they should have done to Rumble instead is after the Armageddon, give Taker the month off to heal up, and then once Triple H beats Randy Orton, have Randy Orton enter the Rumble match, have Undertaker also enter the Rumble match, and have Taker eliminate Randy Orton.
Yeah, and that's where the feud could have started instead of a slap to the face. Although, to be fair, the slap was a brilliant moment.
Slap was good, but it started because both brands need someone to wrestle each other in an inter-promotional match. So you can actually, like, to be fair, I wouldn't change that that happened in the feud. I just would change how it started in the first place. Rather than being an inter-promotional rivalry, I would have just had, obviously, Orton would have lost to Triple H, but, like, have Undertaker enter the Royal Rumble, have Randy Orton enter the Royal Rumble as one of the late entrants, have Taker eliminate him after a good bit of offense on other people, so Orton still looks strong. Then Orton maybe hits Undertaker with an RKO probably or something like that. Taker sits up, Orton's like, what the fuck, gets a bit frustrated, then Taker eliminates him. And then attacks him on SmackDown that week. Then there you go, there's your natural build. Rather than Undertaker feuding with Luther Reigns for a month, which again, if you look at how Taker before Randy Orton, like Heidenreich and then Luther Reigns,
it's just abuse. Like that's physical and mental abuse. Hello, Niall. Welcome to the stream. If I was told I was feuding Heidenreich then feuding with Luther Reigns, I would demand us like a trade to Raw. Like I would be like, no, I'm not, like, no chance. But that WrestleMania match was unbelievably good. Match quality was fantastic. The build up was great. The involvement of Cowboy Bob Orton was fantastic as a legend heel. Obviously, he was inducted in the Hall of Fame the night before, so it was kind of obvious that he was going to be involved to the extent if he's in the Hall of Fame, there's no way he wasn't going to be excluded from it. But just the sheer way, like, if you had to think of one moment in that match, what would it be, and why is it the RKO counter from the chokeslam?
I was just about to say it. I was literally just about to say it, like the chokeslam into RKO, like that was fucking epic. There's another RKO spot I wished happened, but never happened. But I'll touch on that in a different podcast, and we're doing a pod about Randy Orton. But yeah, that was just epic, and that was the start of Randy Orton doing epic counters into an RKO.
That was the best counter for me, in my opinion. It was the best one because that was one of them, but it was just the sheer.
It's number two.
If you're going to say the Rollins stomp at WrestleMania, then I suppose I could allow it. Or are you going to do that? Or all right, top top four has to be. Or I'll go with you then. So top four is the Rollins Stomp,
Undertaker,
the Undertaker chokeslam counter,
Evan
Bourne, Christian Cage.
Yeah.
RKO on the steel steps at SummerSlam has to be like the second one. But obviously, we're not going to talk about RKO counters, although we will talk about an RKO moment, actually, funnily enough, later on in the show, which, funnily enough, does involve JBL, folks. So we'll be getting to that very soon. But just the sheer match call, because obviously Randy Orton did admit in an interview that he wasn't actually in the best shape mentally wise going into the match, because obviously he spoke about the fact he turned up late for rehearsals of the match, like key spots, but he still delivered. Either that man is a fantastic bullshitter, or he genuinely was like completely out of it. He didn't know he didn't know the spot right away from wrong. Because I know Taker's a great orchestrator of a match, and he's good at guiding people into spots and all that. But the way Orton responded was absolutely brilliant. And
Orton's a natural though, isn't he? Like he's just he's the cleanest probably in-ring worker probably seen, apart from Bret Hart. Like if you're looking at like how he makes it look so easy. Like Randy Orton makes everything look so easy, so effortless. Like how that spot happened, and even just in some of the other matches he had with Taker, like the Hell in a Cell as well, like that was something I know we're going to touch on later on. But
especially after why Taker went apeshit after that match.
But it was just a credit to both guys. But I think Randy Orton, even at such a young age at times, 24, 25, was so polished as an in-ring general as well. So yeah, look, on both sides, it was just amazing work between the two of them, especially at WrestleMania 21.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on, do you have a question from Rich, which is favorite Undertaker match? I'll let you go first on that one, Keane.
25 against HBK, without doubt.
Good shout. Very good shout, actually. It's not my favorite, though. As much as I love that match, I thought that match was absolutely perfect. It's not my favorite, but I do love the way that was choreographed, because that should have went longer. I just felt sorry for the fact that the stupid cameraman nearly fucked that up completely, because that could have ended on a count out. Of course, it could have ended on a count out if Taker had told the referee just to keep going as he did, instead the referee decided to stop because Michaels got involved. But that match was fantastic, and that will be one we are covering tonight. But my favorite match is actually the year before
with Edge.
WrestleMania 24 versus Edge is my favorite Taker match of all ever. It's just something about it. I honestly think, in terms of like pure working matches, I think Edge was by far his best working feud. Michaels was the best for like overall like capturing like small man versus little man versus giant. Batista was his best physical feud. Mankind was the best feud for sheer mental shithousery. But just pure working, like I just think Edge was by far the best one, because Edge knew how to. Edge had the mind game psychological aspect that Taker had, and I think it blended really well. I think Mankind, like Mick Foley's feud at the time as Mankind, was just a little bit off, but it was still legendary in terms of up there. But it's just like Edge's use of his brain is scarily good. That's why I've always had that one as my favorite. But here's a question. What was better, WrestleMania 21 or SummerSlam 2005 for you? What was better? Because obviously I think that whole entire feud was fantastic. But
WrestleMania, I'd go WrestleMania because it was the first time they wrestled. Well, no, actually, no. SmackDown 2002 was the first time they wrestled. Was the first time they had meaningful, like, offense in there. And it was just the fact it was WrestleMania moment. It was epic. And to be fair, it was a screwy finish at SummerSlam, so it wasn't exclusive.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I'm on the same inclination. I think it started really well. Just the finish was so bad. It then leads to No Mercy, the casket handicap match, first ever handicap casket match, Orton's versus Taker. Obviously, we're going to talk about his SummerSlam. He's not SummerSlam. His Survivor Series return, but just the way they built up to No Mercy, like the Guerrero's, like obviously Guerrero at Armageddon you would see his little car going about like bombing shit. But I think the build up to No Mercy was the best build up, but it was the worst match out of the 4. But I think out by far out of the 4, I think that had by far the best build up. Armageddon comes second.
Yeah, like if you've seen how like Taker had the Orton's bodies in the casket that time, like that was epic. And like just thinking that like they did a special size casket just in case he buried the two of them at the same time, like that was all great. Obviously Cowboy Bob Orton getting him back into the ring for first time in fucking years, like that was just insane itself. But yeah, and obviously the ending of that match was fucking sick. Like I'm saying in a good way how they burned Undertaker in the casket, like they poured petrol over it and fucking like burned the casket out. Like that was you'd almost thought that was him gone to Mania. Like at the time when that happened, I thought, right, that's they're feuding at Mania 22. Like he's gonna be gone to the WrestleMania, and that's gonna happen. But how they built that Survivor Series, then like the lead up to that, obviously Orton was sidetracked with Team Raw, Team SmackDown, but the vignettes of Undertaker just returning that Survivor Series, it was good, and obviously the build up to Armageddon as well for the Hell in a Cell. So Orton trying to retire,
raising money for the Undertaker. Raising money for the Undertaker's retirement as well, like his pension.
Yeah, him going to a psychologist and all this stuff, and then basically him just basically losing his rag going into Hell in a Cell.
Where would you rank Orton in terms of like Taker's greatest feuds?
Oh fuck! He'd be in top 10. Be top 10, maybe top 5, maybe.
Who's your top 3? Who's your top 3?
I think Triple H has to be number 1. I think Triple H is probably his greatest ever rival, just because he done it in 2 different eras. I think obviously he's 17, and then you have the other 2 WrestleManias after that. I think like in terms of like evolution of characters on both ends, and I think that has to be his greatest feud, because obviously you had COO Triple H versus Agent Taker, who Triple H tried to say he was over the hill, and then you had the bastard Triple H basically against the American Badass. So I say Triple H would be number 1. I think HBK would have to be number 2, just because that again from the 90s up until again the 2000s, that feud was just great. 3, I'd have to go. No, to actually scrap that. Go Kane number 2. I think Kane just obviously for that first feud was insane. I think Triple H is still number 1 in terms of his best rival. Just because obviously trading wins and whatnot, and obviously just the overall magnitude of them matches. I think Kane has to be number 2, because simply just that first feud was so good. And they even had the mini feuds after that as well. So like Kane have to be number 2. I think HBK number 3. Mankind would have to be number 4. I'd go Mankind number 4, Edge number 5, and Orton number 6. So top 6 Orton would be.
Oh, interesting. My order's slightly different, but that's it's interesting actually, because my
fuck. Oh no, never
my
mind.
top, because my top. Nope, too late.
Batista has to get into that top 5. How could I sleep on that? Right. Let me rephrase that. Right. Batista is number. So you Triple H, Kane, HBK, Batista, then Mankind. Okay. So Batista goes in ahead of Mankind, and then Orton's after Mankind. There you go. That's me sorted. That's solid.
Interesting. My top 5 is I think Mankind's number 1. I just think the way that feud went from 96 up until like 99, like it was just unbelievably terrifying. Match quality was unbelievably underrated. Gimmick changes a lot for Taker, and he was still performing. Mankind underwent evolution as well. The Hell in a Cell match stands out. Boiler Room Brawl, Buried Alive, the No Holds Barred. There's so many greats there. Number 2 for me is Triple H. I've got him as number 2. Number 3, I have HBK. 4, I have Edge. 5, I have Steve Austin.
Ooh, in the 90s, yes.
I think Batista's feud with Taker was absolutely fantastic, and his feud with Orton was brilliant. But I just think that feud with Steve Austin in the late 90s into 2001, even the match in 2002, was just exquisite. It was a good feud. It was worked really well, but it's really good. But it just sums up.
I'll be back. Guys, if you have any comments, questions there for Reece, I just have to run for 2 seconds. If you have any questions for Reece in the comments, do ask him there. He's gonna just do a quick minute Q&A with us once I'm gone.
By all means, yeah. Like, guys, I'll be doing what I do best. Run the joint. Obviously, you can see my edit in the background for tonight's edit for both lads. So I just want to say welcome to Maisie. Good evening to you. Good evening to Andrew. It's just good to see you guys. Obviously, we're just discussing me and Keane were just briefly discussing our top 5 Undertaker feuds. So I'll just quickly repeat mine one more time. Mankind number 1, Triple H number 2. I had, was it Edge, HBK number? I had HBK number 3, Edge 4, Steve Austin 5. Yeah, that's it. Mankind, Triple H, HBK, Edge, Steve Austin, my top 5 feud. Legendary. Batista and Randy Orton just miss out for me. Just miss out. But obviously, it is manner of progressing, because obviously it does lead. I know Kane's in there. I just don't know where to put him. I don't know where to put Kane. That's the hard thing. I genuinely do not know where to rank him. That's why I can't choose him. If I had to say, maybe number 1. Jesus, it's difficult. Nah, fuck it. Here we go. I'm gonna have to process this. Mankind, Triple H, Kane, HBK. Sorry, Steve Austin. Edge is 5th. Sorry, Steve Austin. There we go. There's my 5. So yeah, that is. I hate the fact I had to It's not that I forgot Kane. It's just I just didn't know where to put him. Abul saying I'll fight Seth Rollins. Nice. Kane, Mankind, Triple H, Shawn, Brock. Very interesting. I just think the Mankind feud had more substance. Personally, that's just me. But there's so much there that's great. But if anybody has any further questions, of course, please feel free just to drop them in. By all means, open book. I also have Keane's quiz later on as well. Keane is in for a rough quiz, and I'm not even joking. It's 8 questions. 2 of them are 5-pointers. 2 of them are 5-point questions with a twist. Well, one of them is a twist, which he is not going to like. But it's some fairly good questions. So we'll be getting to that very, very soon. And I did promise Keane that the quiz was a bastard, and it definitely is. Yep, Hell in a Cell, Boiler Room Brawl. I had to go through my top 5 because I was struggling where to put Kane. I was genuinely struggling. So I ended up making changes to mine. So I went Mankind, Triple H, Kane. Then I put Edge, and HBK, Edge. I ended up putting Steve Austin down to 6th because it was that difficult for Kane. I just didn't know where to rank him. But I'll just let you know anyway in the comments. Andrew put Kane, Mankind, Triple H, Shawn, Brock.
Brock, yes.
Yeah.
But if you look at Brock, there's 2 different eras as well.
Yeah, he's in top 10, but not top 5 for me personally. But he's in the top 10. You just cannot overlook him. Abul's is Shawn Michaels, Kane, Triple H, Mankind, Edge. Very fair.
No one putting in Batista, which I think is mad, thinking that they feuded for a whole year, and that the match quality in every single match, there was not Undertaker and Kane
feuded with Edge for a year as well. Feuded with Edge for a year.
Do you know what though? Undertaker and Kane never had Undertaker and Batista never had a bad match. Well, not less the chairs match in 09. Maybe you can say that was a bad match, but the rest of them, they never had a bad match ever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've always liked that feud. It's just I think there's so many great feuds before it, but I will never ever forget that Hell in a Cell. that Hell in a Cell match was fantastic. The last man standing at Backlash was great, but the Hell in a Cell just took it to a whole new level. Surprisingly, Steve Austin actually refereed a match straight down the middle. That was even shockingly. 2005 culminated obviously with that Hell in a Cell, which, if none of you knew this, you're about to learn an interesting fact. In that match, Bob Orton bled, and he did obviously, at the time, obviously superstars or part-timers, they were blading each other, which basically means they would take a blade to their certain area, for example, inside their head, and they would cut themselves to show blood. For anyone that didn't know that, that's just how they do it in WWE. It's scripted. At the time, no, Taker didn't find out until after the match. Bob Orton actually had hepatitis C. Bob Orton had hepatitis C, and Taker nearly contracted the disease, and he actually went apeshit backstage when he found out. He's the reason that Bob Orton actually got dumped from his Legends contract, because of the fact he didn't disclose to Taker that he had, and obviously Taker as well, per the match with Orton, he bled, both Ortons bled, but the hepatitis C was legitimate, and obviously Taker went proper psycho. Judging by your reaction there, Keane, it looks like you've heard that for the first time. So what's your response to that?
I knew that from I heard that before in the Orton documentary, to Taker feud on the WWE network. There you go, Vince, the plug. But that happening was fucking crazy. But also Taker getting Randy Orton back in the Hell in a Cell match with that chair shot after Orton fucked him not too long before that. That was Orton got his receipt from the Deadman.
He looked literally dead that night, which is great because obviously that Hell in a Cell match would then lead to Taker taking a month off. Now Keane's going to get all giddy because he gets to talk about one particular wrestler that Keane absolutely adores, and it's not John Cena. 2006 Royal Rumble main event: Mark Henry versus Kurt Angle. Nobody really cares about Mark Henry. He's pointless. But even it was actually a decent match, to be fair. It's just Mark Henry's pointless. But
I was just kicking off a notification. Go on, continue, because probably copyright merchants will hit me again.
Probably. That Taker return, which then led to two great world title matches. What was your overall thought on Angle versus Taker 2006? The first quarter of 2006. What's your thoughts on that?
Unbelievable. Brilliant feud. Matches were great. Again, you know where I'm going with this, though. You know where I'm going with this.
Yep. Go for it.
Why the fuck did that not happen at Mania?
I think there's two reasons. One, Taker's undefeated streak would be broken. I think Angle at the time was by far the best thing going. I think he would have ended it personally. But also, they had a great No Way Out match. How are you going to top it at WrestleMania if you book it again? It's going to be so... It'd be so... Because the rematch was great. Obviously, Mark Henry would have got involved.
But here's the thing, though. They could have... You think about that for a second. WWE could really drop the ball in that. What you really could have done there, I know you had the Rey Mysterio feel-good moment, and that's great. That's fantastic.
Which was pointless.
To be fair, right? What you really could have done, you could have put him to a triple threat with Cena and Triple H, and you could have given him that moment then by pinning Triple H. Like, Triple H was a bastard. Triple H also attacked him in the Royal Rumble match. No. You could have done Kurt. You could have done Kurt Undertaker for the title. Do you know what I mean? You could have maybe Taker, instead of coming back having that moment, fucking up the ring and scaring Angle. You could have Taker win a tournament like the way Cena done the year before. Do you know what I mean? At No Way Out, and you could have had the Angle Henry rematch at No Way Out as a filler. Do you know what I mean? And then you could have had Taker and Angle at Mania. As much as great as the No Way Out match was, And the build was a very quick build. It wasn't like a long feud at all. You could have done Kurt and Taker at Mania.
It would have been better. It would have been better.
Taker wanted Kurt to break the streak, but WWE didn't want Kurt to break the streak. So even if that was true, you could have had Taker win the title at Mania. And then if they wanted Kurt to win the feud, Judgment Day, Kurt beats Taker. And then there you go. Like, there's your booking in terms of if you don't want Taker to have the title long term. And then, look, after that match, Joe, you can still have the Great Khali feud, but what you do is, even though, look, they had to build Khali away.
Khali gets involved.
Either that, or what you do is Taker gets beaten clean by Kurt Angle. You know, Angle goes off, celebrates. Next minute, then Taker sits up, and everyone's like, you know, give him Taker a clap. Next minute, then Khali walks down and just attacks Taker, and that ends the pay-per-view. That's epic. That gives you a spin-off to go into SmackDown on the Friday. Yeah. It's recorded on Tuesday, but
yeah. I think Andrew does make a fair comment. He says, to be honest, Kurt didn't need to break the streak. Yeah, that's fair. At the time, though, respectfully, Cena was doing some good work on Raw. Shawn Michaels was going up against Vince in a very good quality match, funnily enough. Triple H was still the top shithouse heel. I think in terms of just overall work, like there was nobody really anybody, because I think if you wanted to do it, personally, I actually wanted Edge to break the streak. He's the one I actually personally wanted to break the streak, because I think it actually would have made their feud even bigger. But then again, it would then question what would happen to Taker afterwards, because it should never have been. It should never have been Brock. That just did not do anything for Brock. But then Andrew does ask, what would breaking the streak actually do for Kurt Angle? It'd make him the greatest ever.
It would have been a way to keep him in WWE. It would have kept him happy. You don't send him to ECW. And
that was cruel.
Maybe I still think though maybe Taker should have beaten Angle at Mania, because obviously, like, you know, WWE didn't want Taker to lose, so have him beat Angle. And if you really want to build up Great Khali, have Angle beat him in the rematch, you know, at Judgment Day, and then Khali comes out, attacks him after the match, and then you have a conclusive, you have a conclusive ending to that feud, and then you have whatever, you have Khali come out, and then, as I said, if Angle was on the way out, then you do the King Booker feud right after that.
Which would have been class, because King Booker was fantastic in that period.
Yeah, so you could have done the King Booker, because King Booker still beats Lashley at that event, and then you have, you then just move forward. You have Booker take the title off Angle, and then hopefully WWE have him in a better place where he gets his time off at rehab and he doesn't go to TNA, which people are going to kill me for, but, that's what you could have done. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, but yeah, look. Andrew's going to disagree with me tonight.
Yeah, for once it's not me. So that feels good. Touching up on that, because obviously the rest of 2006, it's mostly just him feuding with Mr. Kennedy. There isn't really much else in there, because the Great Khali feud, it had its moments. The Big Show getting involved was ridiculous. Like, that should never have, like that. Like, I was looking forward to the Punjabi prison match, like, between just Khali and Taker, but obviously I think it was just because Khali just couldn't work at all that they were like, actually, should we really put him in? Probably not the best option. But they did. Yeah, Abel, you're spot on. Great Khali was terrible. At least they got a decent work out of Big Show.
It happened the last man standing match, though, weren't it? Like, that was the only decent match chairs Khali had.
Yeah, thank fuck for steel chairs. Do you think Mr. Kennedy's feud with him was underrated, or do you think it was overrated?
I think it was underrated. I think like Kennedy done some good work in that feud. It kind of made Mr. Kennedy again. Fuck off, Matt.
Calm down, Eddie Hearn. There's no ring here for you to get knocked out.
Exactly. Like if you look at that feud again, there was one of them feuds where remember when I was on about earlier that Undertaker helped make JBL as solidified as a top heel.
Yeah.
I think Taker done that with Kennedy as well. Obviously, Kennedy beat a certain amount of world champions in that period, but
So good.
but like Kennedy, it kind of helped create him into a star and someone who could be taken seriously. Obviously, we all know what happened after that. Like that's not Undertaker's fault or anything, but it was to help create a star, and there was a good feud. And to be fair, Kennedy was also United States champion at that time as well. It's just a shame, obviously, as Abul says there. Obviously, Kennedy was underrated, but backroom politics ruined his WWE career. And
so was his botch with Randy Orton. Everyone remembers that botch. Yeah, that was it. That was the end. And of course, Andrew comes in with he's a complete turd
again.
Yeah, respectfully, of course, that is Andrew's opinion. I completely that. Although, to be fair, Kennedy's greatest moment, funnily enough, is fucking calling out Triple H on TNA. Like that was just pure funny. But obviously, that's for a different time. Matt's comment, lads. As you know, I'm not mad into wrestling, but I did hear that Steve Austin, Mankind, and Shawn Michaels are back. Well, that was let's see, what year was this? 2022. That was a very long time ago. Yeah, that was a very long time ago.
Well, part one of that Stone Cold is back this Saturday, which we do have our Wrestlemania preview, and we also have Wrestlemania watch party for night 1 and night 2. Now, the Wrestlemania preview, I have to discuss that with the man beside me. I think maybe we do that Saturday morning, depending on Reece's availability.
I'm around.
Yes, what we'll do is we'll do the WrestleMania preview Saturday morning, and just simply because we have all other shows allocated to these certain days, and obviously SmackDown has to happen Friday, so and the Hall of Fame also has to happen. So
we will be reacting about that on Monday, not Monday, Saturday when we do our.
Yeah, so we'll do a WrestleMania preview Saturday morning. We'll say 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
There you go. We just done live arranging there, guys. This is what goes on behind the scenes. But
and also, anyway. I'm also in terms. Oh, here's one for you, Keane. Ireland have just scored. Conor Hurricane has just scored for Ireland.
Yeah, I would say have the match on, but it's on in the other rooms. So. Yeah, Ireland are the best team.
Yeah, he slapped Wade Barrett to get his entry ticket.
That's a different Hall of Fame, Evan. That's we've already discussed that on the United podcast. We've already discussed that on the Ireland on the.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I don't.
He's not great. He's not great yet. No, but like, look, it's
yeah. Whatever. I've said this to Keane. This is what I wanted. Keane will back me up on this. He knows I wanted Taker to be on his own. Go away. Get out. Get out. I'm just kidding. How dare you say Team Roman? Good set pieces though. See, at least he's complimenting Hurricane.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what it's like.
He has a good left peg. That's just about it. And as an Irish person, I'm not going to build him up. And even though, like, to be fair, Ogbene is the one though. Ogbene is the one.
Yeah. I'm just bringing that comment back up just one last time. The reason why is because, like, Taker is to this generation what Andre the Giant was to the previous generation. Also, Hulk Hogan was big, but like the original they've always said like Taker is the phenom, but the phenom was Andre, and he got 93 on his own. Taker should have had 2022 on his own. Should have been whoever's been inducted this year, like the Steiners. Fantastic mention. Like Andrew says, surprising. Even I'm shocked.
You could have given Taker, like literally Reece, you could have given Taker the 2-hour Hall of Fame ceremony to himself.
Should have done.
Yeah. Do you know it's
yeah.
It's really one of them.
Oh,
fuck's sake, Matt. Anyway, go on, continue. Fuck the Ireland match at the moment. It's only a friendly.
It's probably because Stephanie McMahon was there. Just saying. Here's an interesting question. So, Matt's not a particularly big wrestling fan. He said that tonight. Wrestling virgin, that's what he is. It's okay, Matt. At least you'll learn some things new. One match you want to see this year, if it happens, I would honestly say if he was to go to WWE, it's very unlikely. I would like to see Omega versus Rollins, personally. But it ain't going to happen.
You're going to kill me when I say. You're absolutely going to kill me with what the match I'm going to say.
I'm tempted because, obviously, Ireland isn't too far away, so... But go on then. What are you thinking?
So, Roman Reigns wins Sunday. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because Brock's not going to win. I think we know that by now.
Yeah.
Because Brock has a Mania win over Reigns, so they're going to have to give it Reigns the win.
He's got two. Well, actually, no, he does have one win. Yeah, I forgot about that.
God forbid, right? God forbid Stone Cold looks very good against... Well, not in a match, but he beats the shit. Absolute... Jesus Christ, Andrew.
No.
Yeah, we
No.
yeah. I think he's just trying to fuck with us tonight, but...
That is evil.
Yeah, that is evil. But... Just saying this now. Just saying just to wind you up, but...
Go on then.
So, obviously, Stone Cold beats the fuck out of Kevin Owens. He looks good. Now, I'm not going to sell this match in Saudi because people are saying this could happen. But Stone Cold obviously takes a high paycheck. Reigns beats Brock Lesnar, gets a moment. But remember when both times Roman Reigns won earlier last year, and both times that a wrestler came out afterwards after he won. So obviously Cena and then Brock Lesnar both came out after Roman Reigns win. So Roman wins. He's a tribal chief. Glass shatters. Stone Cold comes down face to face, ends WrestleMania, and you can build that match to SummerSlam. You tell me that doesn't work. And it's in Texas as well, WrestleMania. So I'm just saying.
But you could all like you said, WrestleMania's in Texas. You could also have a very bizarre. You could also have Shawn Michaels pulling out the hat one last time. I would rather not. Like a bald Shawn Michaels is scary enough. A bald Shawn Michaels in a main event. No, thank you.
But I'm just saying, right? Like you get Steve Austin to come out and right. You say you can't see it, right? But this is what I'm saying. If you're doing Rock versus Roman next year at Mania,
he has to lose the title somewhere.
No. Not that he has to lose the title, but just imagine, right? If you're building up to that, like Roman versus, I know that we're really sidetracking here. We're going to talk about back to the Undertaker in a second, but I'm just saying one match I want to see this year. What if you do that? You have Roman beat Austin, and it's another way for another thing Roman can shove in the Rock's face in that field. Just saying. Seeing as Stone Cold was dominant over the Rock, predominantly,
and Rock never beat Austin for the title. He never actually legitimately defended it either, because 98 Taker got involved and hit Steve Austin with a shovel. He never actually full on defended the title and was successful, whereas Stone Cold every time was. His win-loss record in terms of title matches over The Rock is actually far superior.
I tell you that this shit works.
I don't know.
This shit, I tell you now, it works. It works. And again, you give Stone Cold giving him that rub. Also, you have Roman, that solidifies him as more of a bastard for the Rock feud. And look, it just works. Trust me, it works. Imagine a nuclear heat Roman Reigns gives, he beats the shit out of Stone Cold. Then, not beats the shit out, but they have a decent match. And then when he wins, he stands over Stone Cold with the Universal and WWE title.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I'll tell you now, it works.
Looks like you convinced Abel. Although Andrew is, in fairness, of course, Andrew is doing... And they called me the heel last week. I got zero interest in seeing Austin work other than a one-off. To be fair, I think it would be risky, but the one thing is Reigns is a bit of a clown. I don't particularly fan of him, but one thing I will say though is for a big guy,
he is good worker.
And he's safer than most, which many think he isn't. He is. He's very.
I'd rather Reigns than Goldberg, put it that way.
Oh.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, we're actually wishful thinking. You never know; it could happen. You never know. Seth Rollins could be world champion on Monday. That's a bold prediction from me, by the way. Rollins walks out world champion on Monday night because Reigns will just be like, "I've beaten everybody." Rollins will go, "Well, technically, you've not beaten me." Boom, just beat someone on Raw, and then that's the end of it. That would be funny, but it won't happen. Paige to return and smash Sasha. Dream match if it happens. Doubt it. She's cleared. She's cleared, but unfortunately, it's not. Yeah, she's going there, and she'll probably take the title of Thunder Rosa. There's something I'm thinking. But in terms of back to obviously tonight's main topic, obviously Taker. So we are wrapping up 2006. Obviously, we're now moving into arguably the 3 best years of his career: 07, 08, 09, Batista and Edge, CM Punk. Literally, when you just think of that, like, and obviously you had the Royal Rumble win finally. The 3 world title reigns that he rightfully deserved. One of them should have been longer, but obviously injuries got in the way. And the second one, obviously, booking wise, was just brilliant. Like the way they took the title off him. But just that 3-year period, would you agree that is his best period overall? And obviously the obviously 2010, 2011 had Triple H, but I just think like up to maybe 09, 10, that's his best.
Triple H, 09 and 2010 had Michaels,
yeah. But we may as well just do it as a whole because you may as well do 7 years because CM Punk. So from 2007 up until 2013. Yeah, stretch it that way. Would you say those are his best years overall?
Oh, without doubt. Like that stretch was on that 4-year stretch was unbelievable. Like to see him to start with the Batista feud, like when that feud got booked, obviously there was intrigue when he won that Royal Rumble for him and Batista because we thought it'd be more of a hard hitting match, which it was. But Taker showed a whole different athletic side he hadn't shown since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
He showed that side of him in 2007, 9 years later. Like that was his prime. Taker was doing things for a man his size shouldn't have been doing. Like really and truly. Like that I know Michaels and Cena had a great match at Mania 23 as well. Like that match was brilliant. But Taker and Batista was match of the night for me. Obviously Lashley and Umaga actually had a decent match as well that night. But like, Taker and Batista stole the show that night.
That was the one.
And then, like, obviously, they had that obviously series that year, like Backlash, SmackDown Steel Cage, Cyber Sunday,
Survivor Series.
Mark Henry mini feud that was decent. It's actually quite decent how he came back and just destroyed Mark Henry. And then, I remember that last thing he done was after beating Mark Henry is signaling that he wanted Batista, which that happened.
True.
And then obviously you have the Cyber Sunday Stone Cold that special guest referee. That was a brilliant match, and Batista finally getting a conclusive win over Taker. That was good. It was actually great to see Batista get a win because obviously it helped him in the feud because I think many fans probably thought in the feud that Taker just had that kind of one-upsmanship on Batista. It was great to see that Batista did get that big win because if you actually look at Batista's title reign in 2005 to kind of that reign, obviously he had the injuries as well. Apart from the Triple H 3 matches, did Batista have kind of a star-making win? Really?
No, not really.
Not really, because you look at, you had Eddie Guerrero, you could say, actually. That was a good, big win for him.
He had 2 decent matches with GBL, but I don't think they were enough.
They're not something that are memorable, so like, that was probably Batista's first memorable win since Guerrero, probably in 2005, and No Mercy. So you're probably looking, when you look at that kind of 2-year span, obviously King Booker was I know he won the title, but the way he won it wasn't great. They could have booked that better. They could have just done it to win clean. That would have been just a whole lot easier. The Kennedy match of the Royal Rumble was decent, actually, to be fair, but like that was the first big win as world champion. And I think that kind of solidified Batista in the feud because it was always felt like Taker just had that kind of. It was almost Batista were like Tottenham in that feud. They'd done so well, but they were just like always lacked that big win, whereas Cyber Sunday was that. And then going into Hell in the Cell, kind of obviously it was Undertaker's playground, but it kind of gave us the inkling that Batista actually could win the match. You know, and then obviously
Spinebuster on the steps as well, at the tombstone on the steps.
It was perfect.
Unbelievable.
It was a perfect match. And then obviously if Edge coming back, from injury and costing Undertaker the match, which the minute that happens, Taker's getting revenge at some point. Now, the problem with that is you have them then in a triple threat the next month. The only problem I have with this feud, and literally the only problem I have, is let Batista and Undertaker blow it off in Armageddon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let them blow it off in Armageddon. And look, if Batista wants to give Batista the conclusive win to give Batista that boost. Yeah. And then you have Edge win the title at the Rumble. Like that,
beat Batista.
Beat Batista. And again, that maybe avoids Rey Mysterio getting an injury in that feud. And then maybe you have Mysterio being the Money in the Bank ladder match at Mania. And I'm just booking the shit out of that there. But
it also lets you, it gives you a way, it lets you sort of, because obviously Edge at the time, obviously with Guerrero, they were pretty much dominating everything. They could literally do what they did to Jeff Hardy in 2009 when he lost the WWE title to Edge at the Royal Rumble. He wasn't given a fair return match. Instead, he had to go through the Elimination Chamber, yet he still pinned Edge at the very start. They could have done that to Batista. Edge wins the Rumble. Edge wins the world title at the Rumble. Batista's denied a one-on-one title match. He has to go through the chamber. Taker still wins, and it progresses the feud still into WrestleMania. Still the same way.
Or what you could do there is just obviously do the same thing there. Just have Edge and Batista have the one-on-one at No Way Out and have Edge win. Like give them the legitimate one-on-one title match. Like this is the way I look at it. WWE could have booked that there. You could have had Batista and Undertaker blow it off at Armageddon. Then obviously Edge, because he is Ricky Guerrero, automatically just has number one contendership at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And then, he beats Batista, screwy finish by Ricky Guerrero distracting Batista. He then gets his, moment at the Royal, at No Way Out to kind of regain the title. He loses. Edge just uses every trick in the book. Maybe reverses a kind of Batista bomb into a spear or something like that and just wins. Then also to make sure Big Show and Floyd Mayweather have that match, have Big Show face Rey Mysterio at No Way Out.
Same way it happened. Yep.
It just prevents all that, for obviously not falling apart. And then Taker wins Elimination Chamber, number one contender. You solidify, you get a satisfactory end to Batista Undertaker. You get Edge still being world champion, but also looking sort of strong after beating Batista. Then Batista can go off face Umaga still. You have that conclusive ending, even though, to be fair, it still worked. But
the only question is who's the sixth man in the Elimination Chamber then to replace Batista? Would you go with the obvious choice being Mark Henry? Because I think he's the only logical choice at the time. Really,
you could go Mark Henry or like John Morrison. The WWE were doing the SmackDown ECW exchange at that point. Do you throw CM Punk into the match as a face?
Could do.
Chavo Guerrero, dude, because La Familia are still there. Do they put Chavo in there? Like there's ways you can
Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
Gold standard would have worked.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, some of that gold standard gimmick was cringy. But obviously we do get to WrestleMania, and I've already said my favorite Undertaker match. Bobby Lashley at the time, he was
gone.
He was gone. He was starting to do mixed martial arts, but he transcended into TNA slowly.
Yeah, 2008, he had that injury, didn't he, in 2007, and he was meant to come back for a big return, and then something happened. I forget what happened. He fell out with WWE, and then he went to pursue an MMA career, and then also obviously transitioned to TNA as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I've said earlier on, Keane said his favourite Undertaker match, hands down, is Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25. I've said, as much as I love that match, my favourite Undertaker match is WrestleMania 24 versus Edge. We are going to come into that. the fact that Taker comes out first when he normally comes out second, he's putting the favor to the champion. Classic opponent. The champion's getting the honor of coming out second. He comes out in his ministry coat, like cloak that he used to wear, like completely tears it apart. He has that solid look on Edge when obviously Edge comes out, brings out Vicky Guerrero, accompanied by Theodore Long. And it's just such a well-worked match where Edge counter after counter after counter, last ride counter, chokeslam counter, tombstone counter, the swan dive over the top rope, then kicking out the chokeslam, kicking out the spear, kicking out of the last ride, the interference by, of all things, the Edgeheads. Worst name for a tag team ever, but yeah, Hawkins and Ryder, to that infamous Taker gets speared, encounters into a Hell's Gate submission hold. It's just an unbelievable match. And obviously, I'll say this once in his life, underrated commentary by Jonathan Coachman.
Oh, brilliant commentary, yeah.
Cole was great, but Coachman, brilliant. Your thoughts on WrestleMania 24?
It was a perfect match. And again, it was one of them things, one of them times I watched Taker during the streak and I genuinely thought it could end. I genuinely thought the match could have ended. Obviously, because you had the mystique of obviously Edge never been defeated in a one-on-one match against Undertaker as well. People forget that as well. Edge never lost.
And he was 7-0. And he was 7-0 at WrestleMania as well at the time.
He was also undefeated at Mania as well in singles competition. And also, you take into account as well, he had the backing of Vicky Guerrero. He had the backing of La Familia. Like, there was that kind of chance that maybe, they could have screwed Taker over. But the fact, it was such a perfect match and Edge had so many counters, you kind of believed he actually might beat Taker here. He actually might beat him. And yeah, it was just a brilliant match. It was a masterclass of like kind of brawler against technical wrestler. And it was just a perfect mix. And to be fair, I wish they had more. I wish they had, even though they had a feud between, like, obviously 2008 up until 2008 really, late 2007 up to 2008. I kind of wish they had more matches.
Yeah,
I think even if they done it in 2009, I know obviously Taker took a bit of hiatus, but yeah, I still think Edge and Taker could have had more matches. I don't think fans wouldn't have got bored of that feud, considering we've got John Cena and Randy Orton 507 times. I think Taker and Edge, no one would have got bored of that feud, especially the unhinged version of Edge. I think I know I'm sidetracking here, but I think they missed a trick after that Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
I think they really missed a trick. I think they could have. Obviously, you had the Undertaker Big Show feud, which was shit. I'm not even gonna lie, it was a shit feud.
I would rather have had babyface versus babyface at Survivor Series with Edge costing Taker again. I would rather have seen maybe a triple threat in the sense where obviously they had Edge come out as win the WWE title. I would rather have seen. Normally, you would see a heel in there. I wouldn't have minded at the time with Jeff Hardy's popularity. He was second only to Cena in terms of merchandise at the time for selling out. Survivor Series, I would have booked Triple H, Hardy, Taker. Edge comes out. Somehow they make it a fatal four-way. He's the only heel. They all beat the crap out of him. But Edge, obviously, with the opportunistic style, how he was, unhinged as well. Taker hits the chokeslam on Hardy, knocks him out the ring. He chokeslam out the ring, that's him out the equation. Hits Triple H hits him with the pedigree. And then as he goes for the cover. Edge concerto. As he goes for the cover, concerto, boom. Edge pins Taker instead of pinning Triple H, and you see Edge and then just carries on into 09.
Yeah,
of course that never happened.
Done there is maybe Edge, Taker, Armageddon, Triple H, Jeff Hardy and Armageddon. 2 years, obviously, with second year in a row that would have happened.
Yeah,
and then look, if you really wanted, then at that point you have Taker in the Royal Rumble. And rather than having Shawn Michaels being broken, being JBL's bitch, you just could have had Michaels eliminate Taker in the Rumble, and then that's just again another natural build. You don't do qualifying matches between him and Vladimir Kozlov on Raw. You just do Michael's simple, super kicked him over the ropes like he did in 08. Except you don't do it in 08. You just
do it a year later.
A year later, you do the super kick. Then that just automatically Taker comes out. Even what you could even do there as well, right? I know Triple H in 2008, fucking Elimination Chamber, he had agreed Hardy to win it. Like, even if in 09 you wanted to do like I suppose, a number one contenders match of some sort, you have some sort of match for Shawn Michaels. No, don't you do? You have Michaels versus Cena in the Elimination Chamber match. You have Michaels and Cena at the end of the Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight title. And Michaels is about to win, and then gong. There you go.
He doesn't have to physically come out, you just hear the gong. He doesn't have to physically appear because that will be enough of a distraction.
You have the gong. You have the gong there, and you have Undertaker, costs Michaels the match. Cena attitude adjustment, even though it's still the FU at the time, actually. But Cena hits him with the AA, wins the match, and then bang, there's the
next step to WrestleMania, which of course we're about to come to, of course. The reason we're not talking about the Edge feud in depth more is because, frankly, I think doing it in this way is better.
We've much to go through.
Exactly, and you can do it in this way because obviously it then leads to, we're going to cover just both matches the right way, and then we're just going to cover Triple H back to back in the right way. So we're just going to go literally 4 years as if they were 20 seconds, but obviously it's going to be proper in depth, don't worry. Those first two matches was just phenomenal work rate. That's technique rather than brawl to brawl. As a wrestling fan, not just, I was like, we're both Taker fans, we're both Shawn Michaels fans. Literally, just those two matches. You had great spots from both matches that it's hard to actually choose the best one, which is crazy. Because obviously 09 was fantastic. The spot where the face pulling when Michaels kicks out the tombstone, the best shock reaction I've ever seen. How would you describe the 4 years, bit by bit? How would you describe it in your way of thinking? Because I just think it's perfection as storytelling.
Yeah, perfection in storytelling, 100%. I wouldn't change that from 25 onwards, really. It's perfect storytelling. The only thing I'd say is you knew Taker was winning the 26, whereas at 25 you didn't. You genuinely didn't know. Shawn Michaels, because he's Mr. WrestleMania against the streak, you genuinely didn't know at the time. 26 you knew because there was rumblings after that match that Undertaker was going to, Shawn Michaels was going to retire. So the internet was a thing then. You kind of knew what was going to happen. It was
coming.
But yeah, that was perfection. Like that, all the matches were perfection. But the Triple H one, then obviously the year later, obviously we didn't get the Sting match we all wanted. That was heavily mooted for that year since the minute Shawn Michaels retired that we're going to get Sting Taker at Mania 27. But in a way, hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Because we got the best alternative.
The alternative turned out to be better because you got the double match between Triple H and Undertaker and the end of an era, and Shawn Michaels being a special guest referee. I know they had the match years later at Crown Jewel, and that is what it is, but
it was just perfection. I think Keane's frozen. That says all. That's how important this is to Keane. That he is frozen. He has gone to the depths of hell. If you have any further comments, guys, please drop them in. We do appreciate it. We thoroughly do appreciate it, of course.
I'm back. I just went off the screen there. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Yeah, I got a bit of a dig at you.
But
a good one, of course, a good one.
I done an Undertaker there. I literally went off the screen. The gong happened there.
Yeah,
literally happened there. But as I was saying, I think obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing, and I think the way that worked out was better. And obviously the way that happened, it came full circle because you had Shawn Michaels the 2 matches, you had Triple H the 2 matches, you had Michaels special guest referee, and the fact he gave him the super kick into the pedigree, and then he kicked out, and Undertaker ended up winning, and Shawn Michaels like letting beat Triple H at that point.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Like there's no other way. Like there's no other way to say it. Like that was just perfect. And arguably, I would have loved if Undertaker retired then. If Undertaker retired then and just walked off in the sunset after that end of an era moment, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, there'd be no shame in it. There would be no shame in retiring, because that was the end of the Attitude Era. Obviously, the Attitude Era will officially end the minute The Rock retires. The Rock is the last one standing, but like from
He's
the actual, like,
at the moment, though, like,
yeah, I still, in terms of the main guys, like he is probably just the last one standing, because Steve Austin is still retired. He's just going to have a segment. But that end of an era was absolutely superb, and the one thing it did actually do was produce that great moment where they're all standing beside each other. Fantastic moment. But it then gives you the end of another great feud as well that we never got to see properly end. Punk versus Taker never got the ending it deserved in 09. For me, I don't think it got the ending it deserved. Hell in a Cell was great. That was 2. Like the breaking point screw job was fantastic.
The match they had a good match on SmackDown as well.
Yeah, but it never got a pay-per-view ending that it deserved. That feud where tragically William Moody, to us obviously we know him as Paul Bearer, obviously tragically passed away in 2013, round about this period. They took that, with all respect, typical WWE, they took that into great storytelling and made Punk an even better heel with Paul Heyman. Like Paul Heyman dressing up as Paul Bearer was absolute genius. You had Punk dressed as a druid. You had Taker getting the contents of the urn emptied all over him, like proper sacrilege. And it gave you the probably Taker's best worked match since WrestleMania 25. Like that match versus Punk, even with the old school on Taker, nobody saw coming. Like it was by far, like, that just shows like how good Punk is. Like, even a bit Punk of what he was.
That match should have been main event that night. As much as they wanted to do Rock Cena too, you could have had that even. Do you know what? Do you know what would have really been unique if they'd done that as the opener? Now, people might shit all over me for saying that. But if you'd done Rock Cena to open up WrestleMania, that's a fucking massive way to build up, like, to open WrestleMania. Do you know? Like that
I'm not against
everyone.
it.
And
I would be against that.
And also, it gives you a chance to not burn out the crowd. The crowd were kind of burned out for that Cena Rock match because of Punk and Taker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it gives you an opportunity to put that as the opener. You've Lesnar, Triple H as your mid-card main event, and then you have the streak.
And you would have actually got to see although it was going to be a shit match, it probably would have been a shit match considering who it was. You would have at least have seen the women that night, because obviously, Taker Punk did go over, and obviously because of that, it was Usos and the Bellas, I think it was. Or no, it wasn't. It was Miz Scholars, I think it was. That was it. The Rhodes Scholars and the Bellas. And obviously Funkadactyls and Tensai and the ugly fucker that thought he was a dinosaur, Barney's cousin. I generally can't remember who it was. I can't remember his name. He was just a stupid dinosaur pretending gimmick. That's the one, Brodus Clay. I knew. Why couldn't I remember his name? Probably because he was that shit. You would have at least got to see them for 5 minutes, but I'm kind of glad that match got cut anyway. I'm kind of glad. The Punk Taker match, though, had everything. It had storytelling. It had great in-ring work. It had one of the scariest entrances ever. Taker walking up beside the fans, like in a spooky way, like the smoke around them. It was just truly fantastic. Do you think you could have got payback out of that instead of Jericho, or do you think you just stick with Jericho, rightfully so, because that match had to come in at some point? But would you have had a rematch, or would you have just left as a... Because the Taker at the time, schedule-wise, was limited. Obviously, he was literally battered black and blue.
Yeah, no, I don't change anything there. Like, I ultimately change who wins the next Mania. I ultimately change that, but
Oh yeah.
well, we all know why. Look, I'm just gonna say it now. Mania 30 never should have happened. Batista Brock Lesnar should have happened at that Mania. You should
Yes.
have, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. I already said this already. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk at that Mania. You still could have done Wyatt Cena.
Yes, I agree.
No, sorry. You could have done Wyatt against someone else, maybe Triple H or something. Cena Taker was the match to make for the streak. I don't care what anybody says. That's the match you do to end the streak. You turn John Cena heel, and John Cena was almost going part time at that moment anyway. So if you're looking at, right, how do I get the maximum
I
nuclear
don't
heat?
know.
Now Lesnar did get nuclear heat, but then the worst thing WWE done was put Brock Lesnar against John Cena. The crowd was going to cheer for Brock Lesnar because John Cena was just always getting booed out of every building because
Yeah.
because he was shoved down everyone's throats. Quick remedy for that: you don't do Undertaker Brock Lesnar. You do John Cena versus Undertaker. You have John Cena turn heel, cheat to win, and I've seen so many podcasts and so many videos on YouTube where everyone says book that.
Mhm.
Universally, you get the John Cena heel turn. John Cena's going part time. I know you've done Hollywood Rock. You could have done a Hollywood Cena. You literally could have done the exact same thing with John Cena, except times 10. And John Cena becomes a 16-time world champion as a fucking heel. Tell
Yeah.
me that doesn't work.
It does work. The only thing wrong with it is one person. Actually, no, two people are wrong for this. One is Cena, because Cena's a flaming idiot. He was afraid to turn heel. Like, oh, it was all about the kids, it's all about my character, it's all about selling shirts. Behave. You were a good heel and still selling shit. And
Look at
obviously
Roman
the other
Reigns as a heel. He's sold so much since he become a heel.
exactly. And the other one, painfully admit it. And the other one obviously is Vince McMahon. There's no way Vince would book Taker versus Cena like that at WrestleMania. Like, it says all that they booked Taker to squash him. Like, literally, what, 4 years later? Like, that says it all for me. Just how I think as much I would love to have seen that heel turn the way I was wanting it for a long time, because I was getting sick of Fruity Pebbles. Literally, I was getting sick of them.
It would have
But
been perfect. It would have been. You think about this as well, Reece. Cena beats Rock
espe-
the year before. Cena beats Rock the year before. Cena's on such a high horse, thinking he's invincible. Then all of a sudden he can't put Taker down at Mania, and then he snaps and turns heel. Like it just works.
the only thing is though, and this is where I really do wonder, is how would they turn him heel? Because with John Cena, I think the one thing you can't do riskily is you cannot do a low blow. That, as much as it is taking down a giant, we already know Cena's like superhuman, indestructible. He lifts GBL and he lifts Big Show and Great Khali for a living. So you can't necessarily do it as a low blow, because that just defeats the purpose of being Super Cena. He very rarely does.
I'll tell you straight out how you do it. I'll tell you straight out how you do it.
The classic knuckles in the chain.
No, you could do that, or Cena tries to put Undertaker down with a 2 or 3 A's. Taker keeps kicking out.
Mm-hmm.
Then at one point they try to they both run at each other. They knock down the referee. Cena realizes, then he gets up and the referee is down. Cena goes out, gets either chain or Steelchair, and beats the absolute living piss out of the Undertaker. AA 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Fans are shocked. That gives you the same silence. If not the same silence, he gets booed out of the fucking building. And
And
WrestleMania
you would love it.
That's how you do it. You don't do it by a low blow.
Yeah, you
do
can. I actually like that. Fucking hell. We're better bookers than WWE. That says it all.
Yeah, we should be on the fucking payroll.
We should be on the payroll. Fuck this. WWE, if you've got a job, I'm looking to add to my portfolio. Just kidding. We didn't get that, but what we did get though was Brock, the end of the streak, the return where he faces Wyatt, which then leads to the hat trick against. Well, the hat trick of moments with Brock, the return at Battleground, the match at SummerSlam where Taker taps out for the first time properly, and then obviously the decision's reversed because obviously it wasn't the referee's decision, which then leads to Brock passing out. Brilliant storytelling, and then you have their most brutal Hell in a Cell I've ever seen. More brutal than the first one, more brutal than their first one in 2002. Sickening stuff, booked well. Most physical feud for Taker surely had to have been Brock, in terms of just complete physical torture.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, even remember they tore up the canvas, and there was choke slams onto the wood under the ring, and the Team Stone, and Brock Lesnar F5'd them onto it. Yeah, that was a barn burner. And to be fair, Brock winning that match did make sense because you needed to keep Brock strong. You couldn't have Brock Taker cost him the title and then inconclusively beat him at SummerSlam and then doing it at Hell in a Cell. Taker needed that to kind of lose there to keep Brock Lesnar kind of that kind of I know they kind of pissed. They fucked up Brock Lesnar at Mania. I still think Lesnar Wyatt should have happened then, but WWE changed their mind last minute and gave it to Ambrose. I still think you could have done Ambrose, Reigns, Triple H as a triple threat. I still think that should have been, but look, that's another story for another day. But yeah, like I wouldn't change anything about that feud. It was a great feud, and it showed Undertaker still had it. He still had it. Like, he questioned himself, but he really shone through that feud. And then, like, the Taker's mini feud, the Wyatts with Kane, I don't change that either. I think what it was, the Wyatts look strong during that. And now, do you change the result of the match? Personally, I don't. Not in the 25th anniversary of Taker. You do not change the.
If you did, then that would be bold.
You could have. I think the match could have went a bit longer, but other than that, yeah, I don't change a thing. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, that then goes towards WrestleMania 32 Hell in a Cell. Quality match, to be fair, like 30 plus minutes with Shane McMahon, like, who had no business being there, but it was brilliantly done.
It was an okay match.
It was brilliant in terms of like building up. It's just there were some bits lacking.
Yeah, like, look, both of them were kind of gassed out after about 15 minutes. Yeah, but that match, that spot, yeah. For the spot makes the match, don't it? Like,
yeah, what a spot as well. Pure unexpected. Although, to be fair, growing up watching Shane McMahon the Attitude Era, unexpected, probably not. More like, why am I not surprised? It was just crazily good. He wasn't very active as much after that. You then had the Super Showdown, all that, the Royal Rumble. We're going to forget Goldberg. I'm not even going to acknowledge Goldberg. I just can't do it because that was just disgustingly bad.
Yeah.
But what we are going to come to, though, before we go to the quiz, because we've got two very important things to come up with. First of all, it's Taker's final ever match, and then Hall of Fame. So, Boneyard versus Styles. Do we say thank you, COVID, or do we still say fuck you, COVID?
I thank COVID for a couple of things, to be honest.
Peace and quiet.
Peace and quiet, number one. Number two, obviously, the birth of this podcast. And number three, Liverpool not win the league. Well, Liverpool win the league, but that asterisk being there, and they never get to do it in the full stadium, even though they could do it this year. But that's another podcast for another day. But I think the Boneyard match was a fitting way to end it, weren't it? Like, I think if he had a good match with Styles at Mania, he wrestles again. Because Styles would have dragged a good match out of him at a Mania. And like, he wrestles again, and then maybe he tarnishes his legacy. Like, not tarnish his legacy, but he has that one match too many.
And he does he then goes against what he said he would do. on the Steve Austin podcast, which was the best build up to any feud I've ever seen. Was literally Styles challenged him because he spoke about he'll retire when he's ready. His final ever match being against, in my opinion, the best at the time. Probably still is the best at the moment. Styles, I still think he is quality wise. He's just unreal. But
he's second best behind the Drip King.
Yeah,
I think it's Styles, and then Rollins. That's just my opinion. Well, yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. Fluctuation, of course, is very fair. There is so much to it, but obviously that match was perfect. Like the Holy Trinity involvement was great. The fact that they were able to do it off-site rather than inside the Performance Center, which would have been absolutely horrific. Taker returns on a bike, comes out to Metallica. The punching through the hearse quality moment, the smash through the obviously the coffin, like the casket. You had the fact where he's setting shit on fire, like it, and that choke slam off the roof as well was just Styles sold that perfectly. It was just
perfect. Obviously, you had the club there as well. The OC. Yeah, it was perfect. Like, it's a perfect way to end it. Not gonna lie, I was emotional at the time. Like it was perfect, and just to kind of see Taker ride off into, like, it was perfect because Taker like rode off into the sunset quite literally, on the bike. So, like, yeah, it was perfect. Again, the only gripe I have, right? It's not even a gripe. It's not, the Boneyard was a perfect final match, but when Undertaker said goodbye in front of an empty fucking, what's it called, Thunderdome, that wrecked my head. That pissed me off.
That made me ill.
He could have held that a couple more months till Mania. He could have done that at Mania.
Yeah.
He could have done that at Mania. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it was just the fact that it was 30 years of Taker. You just know it was never going to happen.
They could have done a tribute to him. They could have done a tribute night. You know, they could have
everyone wrestles in like black. Everyone wrestles in black and wears mascara on.
Not even.
Sasha Banks tribute was the best.
They literally could just mention on the show, this is the 30-year anniversary of The Undertaker. Here's his best highlights throughout the night at Survivor Series. That pisses no one off because, again, it's Thunderdome era.
And it was shit.
Yeah, like, even though, like, look, Taker might have liked that, but for me, like, there's no closure.
Hurts a fan. I get
As a fan, yes, no, look, to be fair, we're going to get that on Saturday or Sunday, whichever way they decide to do the Hall of Fame thing. Personally, I hope they do it night one because it could really take away from the main event if they do it on night two. They could really take away from the main event because the fans might just be absolutely burnt out and emotional. But like, yeah, it's such a shame to see him say his goodbyes. Like, now, I see he might say it Saturday. I think he'll come out as the American Badass. I think I have a theory about this weekend. On his Hall of Fame, he'll come out as Undertaker. He'll come out as Mark Calloway, and then drip into the biker gimmick. He maybe comes out on his bike, comes back, and then the gong hits. Comes out with his hat just like the way we are there now, and he does exactly what he done at Mania 33, but this time it's for real.
I'd like that, but you know, I'd like it to be better if it was the classic. If it was the classic Undertaker hat, not the one he used in recent years, like the classic, the one from the very beginning. It'd be great, and if he came out in like the purple gloves, like, end it that way would have just been perfect. I agree. And with that, respectfully, has been 1 hour, 39 minutes of me and Keane literally going through 04 to 2020. Not easy. Completely different to any other podcast. And we're going to end the show with, first of all, there will be some Taker overlays in a few minutes. You get to see a few good Taker edits that I've designed. But first things first.
Holy fuck. Clive Hart to score a screamer for Ireland. Oh my days. We won.
Wait.
Okay, but anyway, keep going.
Fair play. But of course, before we do anything, there is 3 people watching. There is a quiz. Thanks very much, Rich. Thank you so much. We are about to do the quiz. Guys, if you want to get your answers in, please do. This is where it's going to get really interesting for Keane. We're going to see if he can, on the week of WrestleMania, on part 2 of Taker's tribute series, can Keane prove that he is going to put the rest of his challengers to the grave? Will he get full marks? Last week, Ailey got 8
out of
15.
Okay.
You have 16, including 2 5-pointers, and one of them I need to explain. One of them is just a straight up 5 points. The other one is, to get even 1 point, you have to give me the name and the year.
Okay.
To get a point.
Okay.
You get one, but you don't get the other, you don't get the point. So your first question was fun enough we actually brought up tonight, so this is probably a point in your favour. Question 1. The Undertaker fought GBL in a last ride match. Who interfered to assist Bradshaw?
Heidenreich.
Very good. Question 2. In which state did Taker win the Royal Rumble?
Texas.
Very good. Question 3. Name all 5 Elimination Chamber opponents. Point for each.
In 2008.
Mm-hmm. Point
All
for each.
5. Big Daddy V.
1.
MVP.
2.
Finley.
3.
Great Khali.
4.
Batista.
5. 7 out of 7 so far. Question number 4. Who did Undertaker face at the 2005 Great American Bash?
2005 Great American Bash. It was Muhammad Hassan.
Very good. Question 5. How many times has Taker been world champion?
6.
1 short. 7.
7.
Okay, so Keane is now on 8. 8 out of 9. Very interesting. Question number 6.
Hold on. So he wins the 5th at Mania 23. Oh, fuck.
91, 97, WrestleMania 13. So you got Survivor Series 91.
I forgot about him being CM Punk. That's the one I missed.
Yep. You won the WWE title 4 times, the world title 3 times.
Yeah.
Question 6. This is your second 5-pointer, so you need to listen. Taker was involved in 5 match of the years. Can you name the year and the opponent?
Of all 5, all different 5 match years.
Yep. You need to name the opponent and the year. And you get a point for each. And this is out of 5. Can you name?
Does it have to be in order? Can I name different years?
You do not have to give the order. As long as you give the name and the years, it's perfectly acceptable.
HBK 2009.
Yep, that's 1.
Triple H 2012.
That's 2.
CM Punk 2013.
That's not.
Okay. I thought that would have been, but okay. So I've said HBK and
Triple H, yep. You got 2012 and 2009 HBK, and you got 2012 for Triple H, correct? You only need 3 more, but you've only got 2 guesses, so the best you're going to get here is 4 points out of 5. But then again, that's still impressive. Let's see if you can name either of the 3 remaining. Think about his big feuds we've spoken about tonight.
Batista 2007 WrestleMania.
Nope, wrong answer.
Oh, fuck.
You have 2 more guesses. There's one spitting you right in the face because you've already mentioned one. There's one spitting in your face.
Randy Orton.
Nope.
Edge.
Left.
Edge.
His final guess is Edge. Wrong answers. So you got 2 out of 5, and I'm going to go through each one for you. So The first match of the year was 09 HBK.
Yeah.
Number 2 was 2010 HBK. That was also match of the year.
Oh fuck yeah! Shit. Yeah.
Number 3 was Triple H 2012. Number 4, Brock Lesnar Hell in a Cell was match of the year.
Fuck yeah.
And number 5, we've literally just spoken about it. Boneyard was match of the year.
They gave that match of the year even though it's cinematic. That's a bit of a cop out, but okay.
That was match of the year. So right now, good performance-wise, you're on 10.
So I'm already after beating Ellie's score anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm still the winner. But okay.
Your last two questions. Who was the first man to submit to the Hell's Gate?
I could be wrong here. I'm pretty sure it's Big Daddy. No. Was it Great Khali or Big Daddy V? I need to decisively say this now.
Take your time.
It's one of the two of them. I know it's one of the two of them.
I can neither confirm nor deny, to quote Will from In-Betweeners.
I'm just trying to think which one was first. Try and think of that around that time. I go Great Khali.
Oh, you were close. You actually had it right the first time.
Big Daddy V. Fuck! I knew it was one of the two of them. Oh shit!
Big Daddy V tapped out in January.
Wait, hold on a second. If I said Big Daddy V first, then
you said Big Daddy V didn't finish it. You judged yourself. You doubted your brain. So
I knew it. I knew it was one of the two of them because I know in that kind of mini feud he done to Big Daddy V and then he's done to Khali and Khali bled. Yeah,
that's right. So at the moment, you're currently on 11 out of 15.
11 out of 15. Okay.
You have a chance to get 12. Your final question: what is Undertaker's overall record at WrestleMania? His overall record.
24-2.
No, so close. One off.
25-2.
25-2.
Hold on a second. No, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
He was 23-2 after beating Rome. Fucking Shane McMahon. Yes, 25-2. Yeah. Oh.
Thank you, Niall. So I'm just going to run through all you've got again. So you got Heidenreich, spot on. Texas, spot on. Chamber opponents. You got Hassan. I thought you were going to get that one wrong. That's how good a question it is. You got the times as world champion out by one off. You got HBK and Triple H out of the 5. You judged yourself and went with Khali, and then you went 24-2, so you were just one off. 11 out of 16 is impressive.
And to be fair, I kind of fucked it for myself.
Correct.
I'm still the king, though.
For now. Who knows? I might get involved on Saturday. You never know. I might do a big quiz on Saturday. Spoiler alert, folks. We'll see. I might be doing this.
Yeah, it's something that kind of probably has to happen because
someone has to do it.
It's WrestleMania week. It's WrestleMania Saturday, and my streak hasn't been broken yet. So I've had to put my streak on the line this Saturday.
For anyone who's previously been on the weekly armchair or has been on the weekly Steelchair and would like to host either night 1 or night 2, preferably night 2 because night 1's mine, bitches. Preferably, if you want to host night 1 or night 2, you have the honour of being Quizmaster. Panel or me versus Keane, your choice. That can certainly happen. But of course, tonight was all about The Undertaker. We have culminated our series by laying a great career respectfully to rest in the Hall of Fame where it belongs. Keane, you are the owner of this channel. I'm not going to ask you to shout your your socials out, because that's not what you're about. What I'm actually going to ask you to do is any announcements on the channel, anything you want to bring up in the coming days, coming weeks, anything that you want to announce.
Well, first thing I'd like to announce is just that I'm back. I'm back full time on the channel as of this week, and so it's just people in the cheap seats. I am back full time on the channel, so I will be hosting Devil's Advocate. I'll be hosting obviously my show with Phil, and will also be a panelist on Devil's Advocate and stuff like that. So full time back in the channel, and also look, obviously do check out Diamonds and Buckets podcast on Friday 6 p.m. UK time, Irish time. I think it's Tim might kill me, but I think it's 12 p.m. in Canada and the States, something like that. Roughly, I could be wrong, but Tim might correct me when he's
Tim knows we suck at time zones.
Yeah, we suck at time zones. But yeah, that will be that. Me and Phil's podcast is 50-50, because obviously my work conditions. So if that's not on Thursday, we will have a special edition of Devil's Advocate Friday. So we have United podcast coming Thursday, Friday this week, and also look, Wrestlemania Preview Saturday. We're going to preview both nights and also review obviously the Hall of Fame. I'm probably going to cry like a baby watching Undertaker in the Hall of Fame. So be fine. And also we have a 2-night watch party. We're not going to say watch along because essentially we're not fan cam. So it's not going to be
and watch along sounds shit.
Yeah, watch along sounds shit, and it's not going to be a fan cam. It's going to be just us lads sitting down, chatting, having a few beers, watching WrestleMania. That's literally what it's going to be, and just having the crack. So if anyone does want to jump on and watch along next, and we can sort that out. We're not watch along, like watch party. It's not watch along.
And also for anybody who wants to come on, but is respectfully, there are people that do obviously come on YouTube that are camera shy. If you want to come on but actually keep your camera off, feel free. We do not object. We do not object to that. But if you want to come on, just chat wrestling all night with us. Hell, if you want to have a bit of drinking, Vicky says she's coming on. Callum Stone, who's on Off United, he's been on previous shows with me. He's also joining us. So, like, one thing's for sure is this channel will not force you to be on screen, be like or not. Like, we're very welcoming. We appreciate whoever comes on here. We're always grateful for that. So, camera on, camera off. We will appreciate regardless if anybody wants to come on. You're more than welcome. The link will be dropped. We only make one request, and that is if you do come on, just be respectful to yourself, be respectful to us, and be respectful to the live chat. Obviously, the channel.
Don't flash on camera as well if you don't do any of that shit. We've seen that happening on another YouTube channel recently, so do not do that to us, please, and thank you. But yeah, look, that's the 2-night watch party. Have you booked work off Monday?
Yeah. I'm not going to get it, but to be fair, though, I can just not go to the office. I can just stay at home and just go to the office Wednesday.
Yeah, that's very true. I've booked off Monday, and I've also booked off Tuesday for the post Raw, Mania Raw. So, yeah, that's good. Anyway,
an announcement from me, not my YouTube channel that I'm doing at the minute, which is gaming. I'm actually just going to say, if you missed it earlier on, I did an interview with Sabi from We Talk Ajax. Obviously, it was a pre-recording we released on the channel at 2:00 this afternoon. This has been a phenomenal show, but that was a great hour conversation discussing Ten Hag, discussing Sabi's love for Ajax, what he brings to the club, what he brings in terms of the youth. Fantastic show there. Not that I'm bigging up because it was myself, but if there's anything particular you like to learn about Ten Hag, specifically certain players, Sabi gave some very interesting point of view, specifically on Fernandes, Ronaldo. I even probed in a Maguire question because obviously there's plenty that have a hit and a miss, like he is hot and cold. But obviously, 2:00 this afternoon, that was released. If you want, go ahead and watch that. It was fantastic. And other than that, there isn't much else coming from the Weekly Armchair except Steelchairs. Plenty of that. On that freakishly scary bombshell, it's time to rest in peace. Good night.